What's up, everyone? Pittsburgh White Shorts back again with another Hololive Deck Tech, rounding out our month of pre-release Hololive decks. We are going to talk about Kanata Marine, probably one of the weirdest looking decks. It's not a very traditional style of deck that you'd see in like normal White Shorts where you have 1k1 or standby. It's very much its own thing. I'm joined today by Brian and Tanner.
Hello, hello. How's it going?
Notably, as we take a look at the list, you will see that we do not run a level 1 combo at all. We run a level 2 early play combo and then a Marine finisher. The way we're going to get away with that is with some strong standalone plussing profiles as well as an overabundance of plussing profiles at 0. To sort of carry us into our level 2 where we can start playing down our Kanata. Kanata acts like sort of it's a different kind of Rushia. It's like a soft Rushia. I don't know. Tanner, you played a lot with the card. You can explain like sort of the differences before we like get into it here and talk about the specific card.
Yeah, so Kanata comes online at level 2. It swaps from hand and it does heal on play, which is a pro. Basically, it's on after it comes in, you either add 2 cards to your stock or hand. You can split those either way. So it can stock charge you, it can refill your hand really quickly. It just gives you a lot of versatility to play into whatever you need to finish off with your Marine. You can also grab your Marines. So
yeah, so it's sort of blending the like traditional 1k1 style play style with the more Rushia grab what you need, like you kind of toolbox or whatever what you want to do with your counters and whatnot.
Yeah, it's like a plus and climax combo early play healer all in one.
Yeah. All right, we'll get into the specific cards. We've talked about the Aqua Arcade Death. It's an on death A1 clock yourself, potential +2, help set your color, 3,500 in center stage, well positioned, and just a testing card. Talked it to death, so we'll move on to the new stuff. We have this Aki on death Krista, so when she dies, you pay 1, choose a Hololive character in your waiting room, put it at the bottom of your clock, also helps you set your color, can send herself, and then salvage a character. So because we do not have a traditional level 1 plussing combo, we're going to run an overabundance of self-clock plus effects just to keep us in the game, starting from level 0. Notably, both these cards have synergy with one of our level 1s, which we'll talk about when we get to it. Obviously, we're going to run the Miko. Every deck runs the Miko in some amount. We're running 2, just for some small red fix and some drop search, as well as being an additional starter. So we have like basically 10 cards already that we're fine with dropping going first, which is pretty nice, pretty resilient level 0 lineup. And then we're going to run 4 of the Coco Trial Deck Brainstorm. It's going to buff, we're not playing the Luna combo at level 1, but it is going to buff our Kanata 3-2 by 1k across the board, as well as being a 5-card draw Brainstorm. 5-card draw Brainstorms are pretty okay. A little bit of extra deck speed on first deck, and then, draws extra climaxes for cards like Kanata, where you just want to loop your combo every turn after it's down, but it helps you there. It's also yellow. Yellow is notably a little bit scuffed in this deck. We don't need too much, but it is nice to have, which is why we're on 4. It's mainly a color fix. Moving on, we have the Luna climax swap this time instead of the sheep. This card can't side attack, so it's 3k, pretty respectable power line, and then just climax swap. So you got another card we're fine dropping going first if we have to. And we also have this really cool double ditch Kanata. It's from the trial deck. So she drop bonds to either the Kanata early play or the Coco Brainstorm that we just saw. And then you can also sack her and ditch any card to salvage any Hololive characters. So it's a double filter on one card. Because we don't have selection in the early game, a card like this is invaluable for making sure we can sculpt our hand. We're sort of ripping random cards to our hand all early game, just playing high counts to make sure that we can see our important cards. But a card like this really helps us select when we need to carry us into our level 1 and forward.
Yeah, when you're playing a draw Brainstorm, anything that lets you turn some random card in your hand into something that you want going forward is super impactful.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, moving on to the level 1. Pretty unique. We're playing 4 of the Luna JC. So this card gets -1 level on stage. She's level 0 like every Luna. And as long as you have 2 or more other level 0 cards, so either more of this Luna or other level 0s, she gets 500 power, so 6k cross turn, and then when your other lane is front attacked, you can pay 1, sack this, bounce that card back to hand. One of the cards that we want to bump back to our hand, as well as maybe one of our level 0s or any card for a pay 1+, is this Rushia. So this Rushia is colorless, not that it matters, we're green at level 1 anyway. But on play, you sack one of your other characters, reveal top. As long as that is a character in this deck, you add that card to your hand. So it is a main phase 0-2 style effect. That's a little weird because it's not on attack. You don't get to sack off a character that's already attacked, but because of the way the Luna works, because of the way the JC works, it actually works out pretty well. And then it also has a Shimakai effect on attack, so it can make sure that your lanes get over so that you have your JC active on the following turn. So this is sort of like your climaxless plussing engine that's going to carry you to your Kanata early play. It's a lot more effective than it seems because the Rushia here can sack our Aqua if it managed to live, which can get like a +3, or it can sack our Akiriki, which can get us a +2, which is pretty nice. It helps us keep up your hand a lot more than you'd think. But any comments? It's a pretty unique like strategy at 1 that like no other deck's doing.
Yeah, I think the fact that this can sack your Rickies or your Krista, that allows you to set your color, especially, you know, you're very lean on both red and yellow. So, like, it can always help cram a Coco at the bottom of your things for when you level up, or another Miko. So it helps fix for that particular worry. If you are worried about, you know, your red being very small, you're planning to play those cards often, and with this, you're planning to send them. So I think it helps loop and really relieve a lot of the color worry if anyone has that concern.
And once you get your Kanatas down, you never have to worry about hand or anything ever again. Kanata just fills you with so many resources for every turn she stays on stage. It can get really, really disgusting. So we're just trying to carry us to that Kanata, and this does a good enough job at doing so without us needing a climax. So it lets you play a pretty natural game. Unlike a deck that would play a level 1 combo, then play a level 2 combo, you don't ever get caught in the situation where you're like holding climaxes for level 2 at level 1 and having a worse refresh. You're just holding the 1 climax for your level 2, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, the deck I feel like runs very lean. You're not very concerned about spending the extra stock for your Rickies or for your JC, because once Kanata comes down, she does give you a little bit of extra stock if you want that, but also Maureen is an incredibly efficient finisher.
Yeah, so you don't need much at the top, even after your Kanatas anyway. Do much of anything. Most of your stuff is really, really cheap. All right, moving into level 2s. We're going to run one of each counter. We've talked about both, and the tap counter is incredibly disgusting. Kanata can fuel it just as well as Rushia, as well as Grab It, and things like that. So it's definitely an option and definitely a cornerstone of these decks that are playing these big cards at level 2, being able to threaten this. And of course, if we're still at level 2, being able to play the anti-change counter, which is effectively doing the same thing, fogging a lane, but doing it at level 2 or 2 less cards. The tap counter being 5, the early play anti-change backup being 3, just giving you that option, splitting them 1-1 for that purpose. And then of course we have to run the 2-1 counter that changes into our Kanata. We play the counter from hand, and then we sack it and change into the 3-2 Kanata from hand. So it is a -1 to get it down on the board, but then the Kanata can plus you back up, and then, you know, you play it down with stock soul. You're generating extra stock. You're gonna have a lot of stock after your Kanatas come down, depending on how you split them. And then of course you can just grab this 2-1 back off your Kanata combo so that you can continue playing Kanatas. That is the normal gameplay loop. As well, they're just 3k counters, so they help you hold board.
You can grab it back just to protect the one that's on board too.
And then we are also playing this Coco back row, so it is a level 3 or higher plus 2k assist, so that helps keep our Kanatas big. And then on play, we get to choose any character with Kanata name, which is a lot of different cards in our deck, but the only character with Suisse in our deck is the anti-change counter. What we can do is shove 2 cards underneath this, and then next turn we're able to grab our anti-change counter for an additional pay 1/1 at the beginning of our main phase. We can't do it on the turn we play it, but this helps keeps our Kanatas around, and then we can add an additional counter back to our hand just for an additional pay 1/1. After Kanata's down, it does not really matter. That is basically free. So, or just an on-play +2 compression. Put 2 cards under it. So.
Pretty good, yeah. I do want to point out we are on 4 copies of the Kanata counter, despite what the standard does.
Oh yeah, we're on 4. Sorry about that. Okay, and then the Kanata herself. So like Tanner said, on play heal. We're gonna change into it from hand with the 2-1 counter that sacks itself. It's off Stock Soul, the level Stock Soul, so level 1 or lower. It's not color restricted like you might normally think Stock Soul. So any level 1 or lower card, throw it into your stock, give everything a soul, and then at the beginning of your attack phase, as long as you have the climax down, if you have 4 more other Hololive characters, you have to have full board. Choose up to 2 characters in your waiting room, and then you either return 2 of them to your hand, or you put them in your stock, and you can split that up however you want. So you can add 1 to hand, add 1 to stock, take none to hand, put 2 to stock, or just add 2 to hand. So whatever you need, it gives you the resource that you are lacking to make sure that you can like always play tap counter, always follow up with your finisher, always follow up with more Kanatas, put down more heals, threaten your finisher, whatever it is you need to do. Grab tap counter, grab anti-change counter, whatever the situation demands, you grab it and react accordingly, which is very comfy. I think that's the main thing with the Kanata deck is like once the Kanata Kanatas come down, you can pretty much react to anything and always have the resources for anything. Because Rushia, sometimes you run a little lean to like always be able to threaten tap counter, always be able to do something as a follow-up. But because Kanata can give you whatever resource you need when she's played, you can basically always have whatever you need prepped, which is a nice bonus to Kanata as opposed to Rushia. What you lose is the blowout potential. You don't lose the shuffle back blowout, or you don't get that shuffle back blowout that Rushia has. You have to play a little bit more traditionally, but you have Maureen to back it up. You're not beholden to that shuffle back for your finish. Tanner, again, you played a lot with the card. Do you have any like notes on it?
Yeah, I think it's just the versatility is extremely beneficial. I mean, you're getting for 3 stock, and it essentially is 7 hand, but you can triple this, and then all of a sudden that pluses you back 6 hand if you want. So essentially your entire hand immediately refills after this. Typically first turn after this, you probably just need to get that hand back in case, you know, you get your counters back so that you can immediately back up, make these things. If you have your Brainstormer down, the ones behind the Coco are going to be 16k after backup. So it's pretty beefy and hard to get over that. It definitely helps stay alive. It helps you run lean, and then as soon as you get another climax down, you refill. I typically played this with the event. I have yet to try it with the Maureen. I will here soon once it comes to English. But even with the event requiring a ton of stock, like it allowed me to really, this is going to allow you to really pivot instead of being stock and hand costed. I mean, you're mostly able to benefit from the Maureen being so lean that you can do a lot more with this. You can grab back those counters. So I think this deck's very interesting, and it's going to be a little odd at the start, but once you start looping your Kanatas, it's going to feel really good.
Yeah, we should definitely note, when we can get into it at the end, this is definitely not like my first White Schwartz deck. If you're just dropping in with Hololive to White Schwartz, probably not the best deck to start with. It's going to be a lot more of a learning curve because you're not playing a traditional strategy, especially if everyone around you is learning as well. If you don't have anybody to sort of like talk to the game about or stuff like that, of course you have resources like our channel and plenty of other channels throughout the YouTube space and all throughout the community. But the deck is definitely not super easy to pilot because you're not playing a traditional strategy. But definitely after you get a couple games under your belt, it won't take you too long. Definitely give it a look. It'll be a really cool, interesting strategy to do because, like Tanner said, you can use this card to pivot very, very hard. Okay, we'll wrap up with a bunch of cards we've already seen before. The Maureen, we talked about this a lot in our last deck tech. We'll have all our previous Hololive deck techs linked in the description. Definitely check that out. I know we've glossed over some of the other cards. We've talked them to death 4 weeks in a row now. So if you want to hear more about these specific cards, definitely go check those other ones out along with more Hololive decks. But on play, the Maureen, you sack another character, and then you can top check 3, add one of them to your hand, put one of them in your stock, so she effectively plays for 1 and a card. And then on attack, you pay 1, ditch a character, burns 2, gains 2k. Super efficient endgame push, so that you can do whatever you want with your stock in the early game. You're not punished for it as long as you have 3 stock. You can play 2 Maureen's and just keep going, do your full combo. You can push even after you've played defensive cards like tap counter or just a bunch of counters to win board, or you've been healing down. You're not punished for that. You can still push for game, and that is why the Maureen is so good. It is efficiency on a good trigger and a really, really nasty come and play effect. And always throw back your climaxes because you can rip your climaxes back, and then she's so cheap on top of that too. You're not punished in any way. You can still push, still play defensively at the same time. And then rounding it out here, we're playing the Sheep early play, really good at disrupting standby strategies, getting things off the board. 4 or more early play on play reveal top, as long as that is a character. Choose one of your opponent's characters in their center stage, send it to bottom deck. Just kill the card in main phase. Nothing your opponent can do about it other than have their cards be hexproof, of which there are not many in the current meta. So really good at disrupting stuff like Mushoku, gets Pauls off the board, gets big things off the board so your Kanatas can beat over with some buffs. Just a really, really good card for disrupting the upcoming meta, as well as mirrors. Mirrors with Kanata, mirrors with Rushia, mirrors with other Hololive decks where they're putting big nasty things on the board. Just getting cards off the board in main phase is super, super premium right now. So we're stretching to include one, even with low yellow, and just we're really laser focused on that Kanata strategy, but this card's still good, and we still want to play it. And then one stock swap. We need stock swap so that our opponent, when they're playing Kanata or something and massing a billion stock and getting super compressed, that we have an out to it. Because if we don't have an out stock compression, our opponent can disrespect us and just run away with the game. So it's really important that we have cards like this so that we can make sure that our opponent cannot amass a mountain of stock and just be untouchable the entire game. Also has like a striker effect where when you use an act, gains 1,000 times your opponent's backstage, like a 12k. Not really relevant. We only play this really for the stock swap effect. But here is the deck all laid out again. Like I previously said, I think we can all agree this is not a very good first Hololive deck. After you get a couple games under your belt, maybe a week or two of locals, definitely give this one a shot after that. It's not very standard. The fact that you're not playing a level 1 combo, the way that you're gonna see other people play the game, see other decks play the game, won't be apt to you. It'll be a little bit harder for you to learn if you start with a deck like this, but it's not impossible. If you love Kanata and that's the only reason you're playing Hololive and you want to play the deck that plays Kanata the best, this deck is still really good. It's just going to take a little bit of finesse and getting used to, because it plays so differently than other decks.
Yeah, it's just a little bit atypical.
Because you're trying to strike that balance between that, mid-game game plan while still having a semblance of a level 1 and having a finisher, you're going to play a lot differently to sort of get there, as opposed to a deck that's all in on its mid-game like the Rushia deck, or just playing a normal game like the Memory Hololive, where you're playing a normal level 1, you're playing a normal healing like sustained focus level 2, and then a pretty normal finisher that tries to close out the game with some cheap burns. Whereas this game, you're just like saying, well, I want to have the mid-game and I still want to have the burns, but then I gotta fill my time with something else in the early game, so your early game is going to be a lot harder to manage as opposed to some of those other decks if you're just coming into the game. But it is effective. So again, after you get some time in the game under your belt, come back to this and it'll definitely be pretty interesting for you. Any other closing thoughts on the deck? I think this is like the most unique, like weirdest kind of popular Hololive deck for sure.
I think so, yeah. I think you hit on most of the main points there.
Yeah.
I think the one thing is, like, if you've played a lot of decks and you want to play something very different and something that's interesting, this gives you this style of deck that's very unique, especially in the English scene.
Yeah, if you're sick of seeing, the same, here's my deck, play my runner, play my level 1 combo, get my pluses, play my early play healer, go for my finisher, or just play, or standby. This is something that does play completely different to those, and will give you a bit of a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely going to play a lot differently, as well as the, like, Gen 3 sack stuff, like the Rushia, like, sacking other stuff off. Because it happens in main phase, you got to be really careful about what you're sacking off so that you're generating enough value to carry you forward into your endgame games. You're gonna have to sculpt pretty far ahead too, like, because you got to make sure you hit your Kanata as a 2, or like, you played your whole game to not do much of anything. So you got to like sculpt really far ahead, as well as just keep yourself afloat until you can get your Kanatas down, get your game plan online. All right, and with that ends our month of Hololive Decktechs. I'm sure we will have more Hololive decks in the pipeline. Like I said, if you want to see more of them that we did, they are all going to be linked in the description, as well as on our channel. You can pop over there and see them all. We've done 3 other ones. All of the big ones that have put up results throughout Hololive's dominance in Japan. It is a super wide set. Just because we didn't cover something does not mean that thing isn't worth playing or something like that. Again, this is White Schwartz. You can make anything work. All cards attack, all cards do damage. And Hololive is such a big wide set with high quality cards. You can make basically anything work that you want. Pick your 2 favorite girls, throw a deck together, and just get on going. You just pick your favorite VTubers.
Probably fine, yeah.
Yeah, you can pick your favorite VTubers, throw them in a deck, and I bet it works. Especially for locals and stuff like that. So if you're just learning the game, go down to your local game store, pick up some supplies from them, and throw basically anything together and just get playing. I'm sure Hololive will do you well. Card games competitive. We don't own or operate those Discords, but we are in them and participate. If you are trying to just play some games, talk about the game, maybe get some webcam or Weiss Fight games, definitely check those out. Global and NA, that is the buy, sell, trade hubs of the community. If you're looking to pick up some cards or trade cards to the players, definitely check that out. And then weissfight.net, if you do not have your Hololive cards in yet, things got delayed. I know there are still shipping issues all over the world. If you want to get in there and practice some stuff, you can grab any of the links from the description from Encore Decks, or hop on Encore Decks and make a deck yourself. Grab that link, go on Weiss Fight, make an account, slam that Encore Decks link in, and you are playing Weiss in your browser with people from all over the world for free. Nothing you have to install, nothing you have have to do. Definitely give that a look. Again, you can use the Discords to do it in voice chat, or there is in-game chat if you don't want to use voice. There's also a Discord and a Patreon if you're looking to support the project or give feedback. The dev is very amenable to feedback to make the app as good as it can be. So definitely give that a look if you want to play Weiss in your browser or just support the project. Upcoming content, Rush rundowns. We'll finally be able to get back to those.
Finally coming back, yep.
Tokyo Avengers will be able to do soon. There's another Quince 2 that we have to do. So set reviews in the pipeline. But yeah,
can't wait for set reviews.
Yeah, more set reviews. For sets that exist this time. Our last set review was for a set that didn't exist. So, okay. And with that, do you guys have anything to add on the way out? I know I just rambled there for a bit.
No.
I don't think so, yeah. I mean, looking forward to Hololive in a couple weeks here. It's going to be massive for the game.
Yeah, I'm excited to see who shows up, what new people we get for Hololive.
Brought me here, probably going to bring a lot more. So, looking forward to it.
All right, Pittsburgh White Schwartz signing off. We'll see you guys in the next one.